So, like, I totally had an intro here at some point in time. But for now, I'm just going to stare at this hourglass. It's very beautiful. It's very metaphorical. And it just makes you wonder, do we have enough time for everything? Do we have enough time to truly become the best individual we can be as a person? Who knows? Who knows? Now, obviously, time has nothing to do with the intro or just our lives in general and the impending terror of not being immortal. But we can talk about self-care and ways to love yourself while you're here. Or we can just talk about the song called Self-Care by Mac Miller. I'm going to choose that one because the other option is just extensive and expensive, and we're just not going to deal with it. When it comes to caring for yourself as a person, it's something that's very difficult to do and something that people often struggle with if they don't already have a high opinion of themselves. And so a lot of people usually will have other coping mechanisms in order to help them through their anxieties and issues, and self-esteem building usually takes a very long time for people like that. However, the main idea of self-care is simply being able to take yourself out of stressful situations and give yourself a break for a certain period of time in order to really recalibrate as a person. Essentially, since this is music we're talking about, we're looking at self-care through Mac Miller's eyes. And so the music video does a really good job of really illustrating how he sees it. In the hook, immediately we're given the state of Mac and how he talks about how he's switching time zones, but what does he know? He could fly home with his eyes closed. It might be a little hazy, but he could make it. Often with addictions or coping mechanisms that may potentially be dangerous to someone, they're usually comforts. They're usually ways to avoid stress. And so even if you try to move away from something that is helpful to you, even if it's detrimental to your longevity as a person, it can feel like there's always an abundance of it somewhere. No matter what, you can always find your way back to those same mechanisms, those same addictions that helped you in the past. So really, even if you're switching time zones, what do you know? I think the reason that Mac is so calm in that coffin in the music video, he understands that this is a situation he's been in before. It's nothing new to him, and he understands the risks and the circumstances and all the consequences that may come. And it's up to him to decide if he wants to stay here or come to a new conclusion and get through the issues that he may be dealing with. And that's pretty much the basis behind self-care, is keeping yourself away from stress in a healthy manner, in a healthy way that helps you recalibrate and come back better than you were before. Regardless, once we get past the hook, as Mac begins to describe, it's not as simple as just knowing the problem is there. It's much harder to work through that problem, because it's super easy to say, oh, just practice self-care and you'll be able to get past your problems. The bigger problem is that these coping mechanisms that you've used and have not worked for so long are comfortable. They're so comfortable that why would you ever want to leave those things? And so it's so easy that the moment you get in a stressful situation is to naturally go to what makes you comfortable. Go to those coping mechanisms that don't really help you. The instinct is still there, and that base instinct has to be eradicated and reformed into something more healthy. Must Be This High to Play is one of my favorite lines from Mac in this song, just because it shows how even though he seems to be living a lifestyle, sometimes he has to get to a certain high just to feel like he's normal, just to feel like he's okay. Essentially, Mac is just getting at the idea of it's not what it seems. There's a lot more than meets the eye. There's more depth here than you would expect. This is emphasized by when he says after, somebody save me from myself. He basically says that he feels like he's a problem that he can't solve. And that's one of the most difficult things about being an individual, is being able to solve problems of your own design by yourself and not necessarily needing someone around you in order to power you through that. Soon after, we get the beat switch and the mood change to accentuate how Mac Miller is now realizing what it takes to really get out of oblivion, further enforced by him literally punching his way through the coffin, following the beat switch, and now he's realizing that he was stuck in oblivion and he was stuck in a bad place, and now he's finally able to come out of it. Not that there won't be still problems and issues in developing new instincts in order to combat those issues better, but now he's at a better place than he was prior. The biggest thing about self-care and realizing that you may have problems that you're not properly dealing with is that they may become reoccurring, and you may find yourself comfortable in that tumultuous state of feeling upset and angry and stressed and sad and just upset consistently. And the best way is to first address that you have a problem, and then be able to find healthier ways of dealing with said problem, and being able to break through that coffin and come out into nature. Sometimes the only thing that we really need is a moment of sobriety to show us how good things can potentially be, even if a lot of things around us can be completely just destructively horrid. And Mac does describe that. He talks about how even still we're screwed in certain areas and there's still war going on, and these things can be stressful, but there's still a beautiful feeling in the moment of sobriety, in the moment of feeling like you're at peace, if just for a moment. Mac Miller's Self-Care is an interesting introduction to what will presumably be an album that I'll be looking forward to, and I cannot wait to hear the rest of Swimming. I like Self-Care. I'll probably replay it a few times. This is the part where I say something at the end like some weird kind of fortune cookie. Well, this guy says the clock's always turning. Sometimes cars turn. And we can all turn to something better. But we have to realize that the blinker needs to be on. You need to check your headlights, do your head check your blind spot, and then merge into the lane.